All right, welcome everyone. We'll start in 5 minutes. All right, welcome everyone. Let's get started. First of all, some rules of engagement. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, just send them in the chat. We will discuss them at the end of the session. Also, these slides will be available in Livestorm, normally via a download icon at the bottom right. But we will also send the presentation afterwards. So without further ado, let's get started. on our webinar on how to blend digital and authentic in your B2B acquisition strategy. Now, before we delve deeper into this topic, let's get acquainted. Now, who am I? I'm Glenn. I'm the head of marketing technology at our campus in Herentals. I've been working at IO and previously in Tracto for almost 8 years now, starting as an intern, doing some Google Ads campaigns with mixed success uh, before migrating to the digital analytics world. And now I'm responsible for 3 technical marketing teams at our campus in here in Vals. I've been lucky enough to have been working with clients in a multitude of sectors, B2B, B2C, but also specific industries. However, today our scope will be on B2B companies. And what we see within B2B is that traditional lead gen has been reaching its limits. People are becoming more and more aware that if they download an asset, for example, there will be some generic follow-up automation flow, but the authenticity is missing in the communication of companies. Now, one of the questions we would like to solve today is how can you stand out from the crowd? And in our opinion, this can be achieved by blending both digital marketing efforts with your offline marketing while still keeping your brand identity present throughout the whole process. So let's start with some challenges we've detected facing B2B companies. First of all, what we often see is that there's a disconnect between the marketing and the sales teams. We also notice that there are different purchasing processes going on, and also, again, no alignment between digital and physical assets. Now, let's discuss the disconnect between marketing and sales for a bit. And for that, I've added the typical customer journey flow or the lead qualification flow for a typical B2B company. So at the left, we've got prospects. At some point, they will become leads. Then they will become market qualified leads, sales qualified, opportunity, and then hopefully some of your leads will have become customers. And you will see for the first part, most often marketing is responsible for getting as much leads as possible and qualifying them. And then at some point, those marketing qualified leads get transitioned or shipped towards the sales team, and then they do some further qualification and follow up. Now, what we see is that often the marketing team and the sales team don't really align for a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons is the difference in goals and metrics. For example, a marketing team might be heavily focused on generating as much leads as they can, nurturing those leads often digitally, and then the sales team takes over, while the sales team might prioritize, for example, closing actual deals, and they might bring a different story than what marketing has been communicating to the leads. What we also see is often a lack of communication and collaboration because they don't really trust each other, so they are missing opportunities or they are duplicating efforts, for example. Additionally, we also see some misalignment in lead qualifications. For example, the marketing team might have some lead scoring or lead qualification model that they use, but it might not be sufficient for the sales team. We often see that sales teams are getting lots of leads from the marketing team, but that they complain that the quality of leads is not high enough in order to move forward through the process. On the other hand, we also see that marketeers are not really trustworthy of sales because they have a limited visibility into the sales process. They don't really know what sales is doing with the leads marketing has provided to them. For marketing, it's real difficult to measure the actual effectiveness of their efforts and make really data-driven decisions on which leads they should target first. And in general, this doesn't only apply to marketing or sales teams, but also to companies or organizations in general. There is some resistance to change. Aligning certain efforts might require changing existing processes, tools, workflows. So some of the team members might be a bit resistant to these changes, which of course slows down the whole alignment process. And in order for a good alignation between marketing and sales, you will require clear communication, some shared goals and KPIs, and the commitment of both teams to collaborate and to continually improve. Aside from the disalignment between marketing and sales, what we also often see within B2B companies is a difference in purchasing processes. For example, you might have a transactional purchase process where the focus is more on a single sale. Typically, this involves products, goods or services that are a one-time purchase only, and the purchase needs to happen as quickly as possible without any need for really extensive research or negotiation with any suppliers. A good example of this could be some generic office supplies such as printing paper. You don't write an RFP to get a new set of printing paper. Next to that, so aside from the transactional purchase process, we call it the modern day purchase process. It could also be called the complex purchase process, often used for goods and services that impact more than just one department of a company. For example, something we experienced ourselves recently, a migration from the whole Gmail stack to Microsoft Outlook. That really impacts everyone in our organization. And of course, there will be multiple stakeholders trying to have a say or trying to contribute in the requirements that are needed in order to validate such a purchase. And having different purchase processes will also mean that there will be a different acquisition strategy. Now, typically for the more transactional acquisition strategy, this is the generic lead gen model. Since the value of the goods and services are typically lower, the process is pretty straightforward. You start with your KPIs and your target audience. Marketing will try to push them through the sales funnel as quickly as possible, and this really works well for low impact purchases. Of course, between the different stages of the customer journey, awareness, consideration, purchase, there will be some digital or offline touch points that could be optimized, but in general, the process is pretty straightforward. On the other hand, our modern day or complex acquisition strategy shouldn't be seen as just a linear path as progression. The path definitely isn't linear anymore because there are much more stakeholders involved. Those stakeholders are consulted before making any decision at all. On the quite hectic slide you will see now, you'll see that there are 4 different phases, or you could even call them tasks that companies go through before making an actual decision when we're talking about complex deals or high value deals. And the first phase is the problem identification. This is typically where the buyer will identify and learn about a certain business problem. They will try to get a grip on what the potential impact will be of the problem, and they will decide, okay, do we need to tackle this issue? Could very well be that the decision is no, not a priority at this point, but at some point in the future, we might need to act on this. Now, should there be a business reason to tackle the issue, they will move forward to the second phase, which is the solution exploration. What's in the name? They will try to explore potential solutions. They will reach out to peers and start looking at potential providers of their potential solution. Once that has been completed, then they will move on to the third phase, the requirements building. And this is where a multitude of stakeholders are getting involved in the party. They will try to create a list of all the requirements from all the different stakeholders for a solution. Typically, we also see that the scoring criteria for potential suppliers is also created here, and potentially an RFP is being sent out to some potential suppliers. And then finally, we have our supplier selection. Once the company has received some offers from the potential suppliers, they will evaluate the pros and cons of solutions and will decide on how to move forward. And this non-linear purchase process really involves that you need to make sure that you understand who you are targeting at which phase during the purchase process. To make it even harder, you are targeting people within your communication strategy, while your end client actually will be a company. So try to keep in mind that you're talking to different decision makers, potentially between this within the same company, and they will each have their own concerns. For example, for a marketeer, their concerns might be: is this product or service easy to use? What are the benefits? Is it efficient, for example? While when we take a look at procurement, for example, most often their only concern is, what will this cost me? And for example, if you're trying to sell IT related products or services, the IT department will get involved, and they will take a look at stuff like implementation workload, potential integrations with existing tools, security aspect of everything. So you really need to keep in mind that while you're trying to sell or market your products, you're not only talking to people, but also to a company as well. And within that company, a multitude of people, decision makers, will have their own concerns, and these concerns will need to be addressed in order to move forward. And the final challenge I would like to discuss is that there is no real alignment between digital and physical. What we often see is that all the digital assets have a certain branding or brand identity, and the offline assets are missing the same brand identity, which confuses the stakeholders you're talking to. And just like before, remember the previous slides, the non-linear customer journey. Yeah, we see some digital and physical touch points within that journey. For that, we'll need consistent messaging in order to keep your customer engaged. What we typically say is that the alignment of your physical assets and your operations, so marketing and sales, for example, will be the glue for collaboration between sales and marketing if there's a common strategy involved. So getting those teams together, marketing and sales, being able to recognize, okay, this is the purchase process where my potential customer is going through, and aligning your digital and physical assets will be key in order to be successful in the B2B market. And then just an example of one of our clients, Havep, who did the alignment of physical and digital assets pretty well. They have a digital brochure. You can clearly see, okay, it's their branding, everything in red. They even have a boxing bag stamped on the brochure, and the actual physical assets is a boxing glove. And you will see that there's a real brand identity across those two different touch points, both digital and physical. Now we've known the challenges. Let's take a look at how we can solve these potential issues. Let's start with data-driven approach. After that, we'll discuss account-based marketing for a bit, and then just a small section about how you can use AI for creative purposes, because AI is a buzzword apparently right now. But let's start with the data-driven approach. And for that, I've brought my friend, Jay Bear, with a quote, "We are surrounded by data, but starved for insights." And there is some truth in this quote. We see that more and more of the sales funnel, or basically anything, is done digitally, which is very good for scalability. Digital scales much better than offline. But we see that the data is so dispersed across different tools, different data silos that it's real difficult to gain insights from your data set. While it's really important to have a digital backbone or digital tool stack that can coordinate all your digital and physical communication moments as much as possible in order to improve your communication strategy. What we often see is a really complex tool stack. So 12 different tools, one for a chatbot, one for analytics, advertising. Your CRM might have is a separate tool. And really what we're trying to say here is less is more. If you can keep your amount of tools to a minimum and integrate the tools you are using very well, you will be able to gain insight on how a certain user or prospect is interacting with your brand. Now for this example, I would like to use HubSpot, one of our favorite tools here at IO. And why do you love HubSpot so much? Because it enables us to have an end-to-end measurement. What we often see is that part of the process of the customer journey is being lost, often during sales. Why is that? Because sales will have physical contact moments with your client. They will make meeting notes, they might make calls, and those touch points are not being registered in the CRM. So you're missing a part of the story, which is very difficult to improve on, of course. And a tool like HubSpot basically provides a solution for everything. You could build your website in HubSpot. It could function as a CRM and could also function as your sales operation solution. And it also has the capability to connect to advertising sources. Now, I'm well aware that there are some companies that might use a more dispersed tool stack. And in principle, that's not a real issue, as long as you can make sure that all the relevant information can be shared across platforms and it can be integrated somewhere or centralized somewhere. And again, coming back to the example of HubSpot, HubSpot integrates very well with, for example, Salesforce or any other tools like a chatbot, and really make sure that you have all your information in the same place. And both marketing and sales can use HubSpot as a centralized tool to create their campaigns or to follow up on sales interactions, for example. And when we're talking about sales interactions, let's take a look at account-based marketing. Kind of a buzzword over a couple of last years. So for those who don't know what account-based marketing is, it's a B2B strategy where there is an alignment between marketing and sales. They work together to close typically large and really complex deals. Now, account-based marketing actually means that you have a target group of companies, or maybe even one company, that you try to approach with a tailor-made offer. Your sales and marketing campaigns will be really tailored to that specific company or that specific group of companies. The key word here is personalization. You will try to get as personalized as possible and try to address the personal needs of your specific potential customer. Now, how does ABM differ from lead gen? There are some similarities between both approaches, but they differ on several topics. For example, the focus of lead gen is more broad. Typically, you will try to identify or nurture a group of leads through targeted advertising, email campaigns, maybe you have some lead magnets like a white paper or a podcast. And the focus of lead gen is generating as much leads as possible and then pushing them through your sales funnel, qualifying them, and then shipping them over to the sales team. Now, on the other hand, ABM is more focused on a targeted approach that focuses on your high value accounts. And you really try to connect with the key decision makers within a specific company and trying to reach out to them in a personalized way. Now, again, when we're talking about personalization, both lead gen and ABM might use personalization in their efforts, but typically we see that ABM is much more personalized than what a traditional lead gen campaign is doing. Why is that? Because you have a much narrower scope. You have a limited amount of target accounts that you're trying to reach, so you can invest more in personalizing your communication and your approach to those target accounts. We also see is lead gen is often more a marketeer's business, or it's more focused around marketing, while ABM really requires close collaboration between the marketing and the sales team. Why is that? Yeah, because if you're personalizing your whole customer journey, marketing will need to be involved as well as sales team. Their story to your potential target client will need to be aligned. So the alignment of those two teams is really crucial in this case. And then finally, let's talk about some success managers, success metrics. What's a good lead gen campaign, or what's a good ABM campaign? Typically, lead gen campaigns, they get qualified on the amount of leads you generated, or the conversion rate, the cost per lead, the really traditional success metrics, while ABM will go a step further and they will take a look at the deal size, for example, the win rates, or the customer lifetime value, because sales is more involved, so you will have more information on the sales activity of that client. So you can also use those sales metrics, such as deal size, for example, to successfully evaluate your campaigns. So to sum up, in general, there are some similarities. They're both lead gen and ABM are both pointed towards acquiring new customers. However, they differ in approach, in focus, personalization, and their key success metrics. And within account-based marketing, we also have some different flavors. And the triangle, pyramid, whatever you see on screen, the higher in the triangle you are, or in the pyramid you are, the more personalization you will be applying towards your account-based marketing approach. The highest level, strategic ABM, you'll have 1 to maybe 10 accounts that have been defined, and you will need to have a deep knowledge of the account and try to personalize your approach to them. Typically, what we see here is that there will be personalization based on the decision maker within that account, or within the target account, in order to really convince them of that your solution is the best need to their problem. Of course, personalization is quite expensive. So for budget reasons or time and effort reasons, another approach could be used as well. For example, the scale or the programmatic ABM, where we are still targeting high value accounts, but they are segmented a bit more. You're not communicating one-to-one, but one-to-few or one-to-many. And of course, because you are using less personalization, because you're working with segments, the cost in budget and time and effort will be also much lower. And then finally, how can we make sure that personalization and brand identity are still achievable even with lower budgets? I've talked quite a lot about personalizing your communication through ABM. Of course, personalization equals money. In this case, it could be also helpful to take a look at AI for your creative asset production, for example. With some recent developments, we all know ChatGPT, which is just text generation, but we also have tools such as DALL-E, Adobe Firefly, who are capable of producing new images, new videos that can be integrated in your marketing campaigns. And of course, when you use a tool like DALL-E or Adobe Firefly, it can be a fraction of the cost of what it traditionally should cost with a creative agency. So if you're trying to keep the cost down, or you want to be highly personalized, but you don't have that much budget, then taking a look at these tools might be really helpful. And it might also be helpful to use the concepts created by these AI machines to really keep your brand identity present in both your on and offline communication, which is crucial to not confuse your potential customers. Now, if there are any topics you should try to remember from this session, it would be these 4. first of all, really try to align your marketing and sales teams internally. This can be achieved by setting up clear communication, aligned processes, and a shared goal metric. If they are not working together closely, there will be some lack of trust, some issues between both teams, and that will have an effect on the communication you are able to do. Next to that, it was quite surprising, but most companies or most B2B companies don't have a list of target accounts who are my dream clients, for example. So if you can create that list and you can personalize your communication based on their concerns to convince them of the product, you will have much higher efficiency in trying to achieve your sale. Next to that, try to keep track of all your touch points. This doesn't mean a really complex MarTech tool stack or analytics tool stack, just a simple tool stack that can integrate well and can provide you with insight in all the different interactions your marketing and sales and other team has had with your target audience. It's really vital to optimize your processes and your communication. And then finally, to be truly authentic, make sure that you don't lose your brand identity. Try to make it shine across all your different communication channels, both physical and digital. All right. I want to thank you for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And as mentioned before at the beginning of the webinar, the slides are available in Livestorm itself, but we will also send a PDF file with the slides for you to look afterwards. And one more thing, this session is being recorded. You will receive the recording automatically. So thank you for your time, and please put your questions in the chat. All right, I see one compliment. Thank you for that, Tagi. If there are no more questions, because I don't see anyone typing anything in the chat, we'll end the session here. Thank you for your time and attention, and enjoy your lunch. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.